Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fourth and Frames. It has been a while, but we're here with a little bit of March Madness for you tonight, talking some free agency fallout. I am Rhett Manuel, normally accompanied by my boys Drew Scott and Nate Markham, but tonight we got ourselves a couple of guests, and Kyle Ziegler and Aiden Weingardner. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get it popping. Like I said, this is Fourth and Frames, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Took a little time off, but here we are ready to give you the most actionable advice for you to win fantasy football championships this upcoming season. And don't forget to help us out over at Fantasy and Frames. Don't forget to like and subscribe and review to catch anytime a new podcast or short form drops from us. You can also search for all the podcasts here at Fantasy and Frames by name, wherever you listen to podcasts, be that iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is, we've got you. And also do not forget to make sure to subscribe to that Fourth and Frames podcast and lock in at fantasyandframes.com for the latest weekly IDP and Dynasty rankings, articles, takes, news, notes, hockey, whatever you want, we got you. So, boys, a little bit of unfamiliar territory for me, but let's go ahead and let's chop it up. Kyle, tell me how your week is, bud. How's it feel to be on camera tonight, man?
Oh, man, it feels good. It's been a long time coming. Drew's been wanting me to come on and visit with you guys, and it feels good to be on here. I've been very busy with my 3-year-old and almost 5-year-old, so they got me running around the house, but I'm ready, baby. I'm ready to get things popping here on Fourth and Frame. Let's go.
Dude, and it's so good to have you. And look, also joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the Fantasy and Frames Rookie of the Year so far for 2025. My man came in less than 2 weeks ago, and he is coming in dropping article after article on fantasyandframes.com, really just doing the Lord's work and giving you all sort of good feedback on free agency. So he's the perfect man to have on the show tonight. Aiden Weingardner, speak to me, baby.
Wow, that's one heck of an introduction. Thank you. I'm excited to be here and talk ball with you guys and doing what I love on the podcast.
Dude, and we're happy to have you. And Nate and Drew, if they can make it, do plan to be here tonight. And if not, that's just fine, because I know these two fellas are going to give you guys the best advice possible as we get together and we talk some free agency feedback and fallout. Free agency has been crazy this year, boys. Whether it be guys jumping to new teams, the New Orleans Saints spending too much money on players that are not that good. No surprise. Just a lot of things going on, but we're going to jump through it tonight, position by position, and talk about a bunch of these different deals and talk about what they're going to mean in our opinions for fantasy football this upcoming season. Y'all ready to do that?
Let's go.
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into the wide receiver position. And we're going to start with one guy who was one of the biggest producers in the first half of the fantasy football season last year before he had an injury that ended his year. A lot of speculation. Would they bring him back? Would they not? But lo and behold, Chris Godwin is back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3 years, $66 million. One of my favorite players, one of the most effective slot guys in the NFL, in my opinion. But I want to start off with you, Colin, just ask you this question. Coming off of this injury, coming off of Baker Mayfield having yet another career season, not knowing what he's going to look like post-injury, what are your expectations for Chris Godwin here in 2025?
Well, last year he was off to a red hot start, like you mentioned. I mean, he was wide receiver 3 before going down with that ankle dislocation in week 7. And, if he can recover well, barring that, I don't see any reason why he can't pick up where he left off. I think many people are going to be worried about his injury when we come to the drafts in 2025. But I think he'll have a lot of value if that's the case. Right now I'm looking over at Fantasy Pros, and they got him at wide receiver 30 right now behind Olave, Jamison Williams, and Devontae Smith. I think if we can get him in that range, I think he'd be a steal at that price if he hangs around that area.
Yeah, you talking about current ADP. Where was that right now in terms of
Wide receiver 30. Wide receiver 30.
Yeah, I think he might have even been a little bit lower last season heading into the year, which was incredible value. So, Aiden, you have anything different you think about that or what, man? Where are you on Godwin for 2025?
So I know Chris Godwin in the fantasy landscape can kind of be looked at to some people as a boring receiver, but that's perfectly fine because as we all know, slot receivers are usually big fantasy producers. And every single year I keep saying to myself that come draft season, August and September, I feel like Chris Godwin always goes too late and someone says, oh, I got a great value. And then he ends up being a fantasy star. So I think he's going to be, again, barring injury recovery, like Kyle mentioned, I think he's going to be dropped right into that slot role and once again be a huge value and go too late in drafts. And people are going to say, out of nowhere, when they should have known this guy is going to be a fantasy star once again.
And we didn't even mention that, like, Mike Evans on the opposite side takes a lot of attention. So that's the reason why Chris Godwin's gonna do well is he's got Mike Evans on the other side. He's a 1,000-yard receiver himself. They have to look at Mike Evans defensively.
And what about Jalen McMillan, man?
Ooh, he's an upcoming beast. I do like him. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be a little bit better than Trey Palmer, but he looked good last year. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he looks like he's got a lot of potential there in that offense with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, there's some dudes that just flash and you kind of see it from the jump. And usually by year 2 with a receiver, you're really going to know whether that guy's going to be a stud or not. It used to be a 3-year curve. Now it's kind of narrowed down where it's either year 1 to year 2. You're finding out who guys are going to be pretty soon. So, yeah, we all kind of in lockstep. Chris Godwin, we're expecting big things, maybe underdrafted right now, but maybe once he gets to camp and we start to see what happens with that ankle and how he looks, you might see him surging up some draft boards once that redraft season rolls back around.
Absolutely.
Guys, let's keep moving because don't know if you guys know this about the Cincinnati Bengals. They like them some offense, apparently, boys. And I don't say that lightly because a couple seasons ago, they made Joe Burrow at the time the highest paid quarterback in football. They waited on paying Jamar Chase last offseason. He came and blew everything out of the water and decided that he was going to up his price even more. And then on top of that, to make things even better for the Cincinnati Bengals, T. Higgins needed to get paid too. And guess who was the architect of all of this, ladies and gentlemen? General Manager Joe Burrow, of course. So when everything cleared and the smoke cleared, Jamar Chase became the highest paid non-positional player in NFL history at 4 years, a non-quarterback at 4 years, $161 million. And then T. Higgins became the highest paid wide receiver too in NFL history at 4 years, $115 million. Ladies and gentlemen, them checks is clearing in Cincinnati. Load up on all the Cincinnati, all the Skyline chili you want. Add a little bit of extra onions. Make it happen. But it leads to some very interesting questions fantasy-wise. And I want to start with you, Aiden, this time. A lot of buzz around the Cincinnati Bengals is now pretty much going, okay, but how the heck are they going to build out the rest of this roster? Which, in my opinion, means this. I want to see if you agree with me here. If their defense is terrible, then that means we are getting ready for some sky-high fantasy football production here in 2025. So let me just ask you this. Jamar Chase, obviously the ceiling is wide receiver 1 overall. Dude, how many fantasy points are these guys capable of in 2025?
I mean, we saw it last year, especially the second half of the year. You mentioned a terrible defense. They already had an awful defense last year in 2024. So if they can eclipse that, that's just like to the moon numbers, in my opinion. You mentioned Jamar Chase, potential wide receiver 1 overall finisher. T. Higgins, why can't he be on that fringe, like 15 to 20 range wide receiver in there? Because in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, maybe T. Higgins will be more motivated now to play with a new extension as opposed to saying, oh, my hamstring hurts, I got to sit out, aka he doesn't want to get injured and play and get injured without a new extension. So I think I agree with you. Like, the sky is literally the limit. There is no roof or ceiling, if you will, for this offense and fantasy points per game.
Kyle, did you take a peek at those Jamar Chase numbers from 2024 pre-contract?
You got something on me?
I'll get him to you, bud. Okay.
Wide receiver 2.
Oh, it had to be wide receiver 1. It was 127 receptions,
Yeah.
1,708 yards, and 17 touchdowns.
Triple Crown winner. So
unbelievable. So, like, can it get any better for him? Is my question for you, Kyle.
Gosh, man. Maybe we see a 2,000-yard season out of him. I mean, it can definitely happen. You didn't mention it, but did you know that the Bengals have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase both top 10 paid at wide receiver?
No,
highest paid wide receivers. Yeah, both of them in the top 10, and well deserved, might I add.
Yes.
And here's the crazy thing: is that right now it seems like an exorbitant amount of money, but the way the cap has just kept running up the past couple years, I mean, by year 3 of both of these deals, they're going to feel like values, which is crazy enough to begin with. So, yeah, it's insane.
I don't know who's going to pass him though. Who's going to pass 161? Who's next?
I don't know. It won't be DK Metcalf though. I'll tell you that, because he just got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers and signed a 4-year, $120 million extension. Guys, in a vacuum, I really like that trade because DK Metcalf teams with George Pickens, and you can kind of just see where it's going. It's like all of a sudden the Steelers are getting vertical in 2025, but there's kind of an issue with that at the moment.
Quarterback?
Who's on the football, guys?
Mason Rudolph.
Right now. Mason Rudolph back in the saddle, throwing the football to DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So, guys, when the smoke clears, we'll go around the frames and just ask both of you, what do you guys think that quarterback situation in Pittsburgh is going to look like? I'll start with you, Kyle.
Well, I think right now we're in a holding pattern. It makes a lot of sense for Pittsburgh to bring Russ back. I believe that's what's going to happen. I myself am a holder of DK in several Dynasty leagues, including our Fantasy and Frames League, where you, Rhett, sir, traded me DK for Kendre Miller last year. So I want to thank you for that. I never got a chance to thank you for that. So thank you for that.
Wasn't that like a playoff run sort of situation there? And I was just like, I don't know.
I don't know what you're thinking, but hey, I am glad you did it. I'm happy to hold DK through all this. I'm not panicking yet. I am hoping that Pittsburgh does sign Russell, but if it doesn't, and Rodgers retires or goes to Minnesota, then we're in a lot of trouble as DK owners.
And what do you think the quarterback situation looks like?
So I want to preface this with I 100% think they should have just brought back Justin Fields and been done with it, but clearly that didn't work. So whether it is Mason Rudolph, I know Kyle's a little higher on them, bring back Russ than I am, or whether it's Aaron Rodgers, I just don't know how it feels. It's gonna in Arthur Simpson's offensive coordinator, he does some weird and goofy things with his personnel, and I just don't know how high I am on this sluggish passing game. Like if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. Not to mention that your Tomlin's ground and pound guy, Najee Harris, also left to the Chargers, which I'm sure we'll touch on it a bit here, but I'm not really that high quarterback or not. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's same for me. It's a big up in the air thing where we don't really know what's going on there in 2025. But if there is a deal that I really, really like football wise, it's probably the best free agent deal that they had in terms of value, in terms of fit, just the whole 9 yards. I wish Drew was here to gloat right now because Davante Adams going to the Los Angeles Rams is just, it's so good. And at the price that they got him, 2 years, $46 million, and only $26 million of that guaranteed. I mean, it's the best football move in free agency, in my opinion. You pair him with Puka Nacua. You have 2 elite route runners. You have Matthew Stafford delivering them the rock. It's going to be a good time. So I feel like in terms of football sense, it makes a whole bunch of sense. But with the sort of volume that both Puka Nacua and Davante Adams tend to generate in pass, Puka's first 2 years, Davante Adams pretty much his entire career. What do we make of this in terms of, do both of them kind of take a little bit of a drop off? Do the Rams just throw it 600 times next year and feed both of them? Aiden, where do you think this offense looks like now that they have two possession-based guys that demand that much of a target share in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua?
I think as long as they're obviously gearing up for a Super Bowl run, right? They're obviously Super Bowl contenders for real life football. But from a fantasy perspective, I want to say this. If I can get a quote unquote like couple round value on Devontae Adams,
yes,
just because of the Puka Nacua presence of him, then I'd absolutely take that, me personally, in drafts.
Yeah, I like really what you said about the Rams gearing up for a Super Bowl run, because whenever we saw them get that Super Bowl a couple years ago, the recipe was cost-controlled contracts with a couple of big stars getting paid. And it seems like that's where they're heading again. And my man John McGlynn says Adams is going to be fantasy relevant for another few years, and I have to agree with that for sure.
I do.
But in terms of being fantasy relevant, Kyle, what is the ceiling for Devontae Adams this year? Is it low-end wide receiver 1? Is it high-end wide receiver 2? Is it worse than that? Is it better than that? Where are you?
Right now, I'm thinking solid wide receiver 2, strong wide receiver 2. There's no reason why he can't have another 1,000-yard season, double-digit touchdowns like he's done year over year. I'm looking right now again at his rankings. They got him right now at wide receiver 18 overall, just ahead of DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rashee Rice, and I think he's appropriately. Yeah, I think he's
that range.
Yeah, so you get him there, you get your discount that you're asking for, Aiden. I think he can definitely give you some value there, because with Matthew Stafford throwing him the rock, there's no reason. I think the floor is 1,000 yards.
That's the absolute floor, yeah.
Yeah, and so I agree with all of that, guys. And then after these 4 big deals, there's kind of a little bit of a tier drop-off in terms of these other deals. So we'll go through them a little bit more quickly. Hollywood Brown signs 1 year, $11 million to stay with the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy had a little legal boo-boo where he was arrested for assault against a family member by impeding their breathing or circulation, though ultimately there were reports that he wouldn't be charged following that arrest. So I don't know. That just makes for an interesting situation for the Chiefs heading into 2025, because if Rashee Rice is back and he's not suspended, then we have to think he's the default wide receiver 1 there, right?
I do, yeah. Even with Xavier Worthy, whatever happens with him, I've always operated under assumption both perfectly healthy and not suspended. Rice is just better than Worthy, in my opinion, from real football and fantasy perspective. So I've been operating under that assumption this whole time anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cooper Kupp to the Seattle Seahawks, 3 years, $45 million. Kyle, Coop's going home. Probably not the player he used to be. He's going to be playing with a very different offense that he's been used to throughout his career. He's going from Matt Stafford to Sam Darnold. I know Sam Darnold was really good last year, but we haven't seen it on a long-term consistent basis. So this is going to be the only Seahawks talk we have. So, man, what the heck is this Seahawks offense going to look like in 2025, in your opinion?
Well, man, don't even get me started, because I feel like going on a rant right now, because what are the Seahawks doing? Is this the new way to tank, by the way, where you overpay veterans? Because you trade DK Metcalf for a second-round pick. Geno Smith, you trade him for a third-round pick. You saved yourself quite a bit of dough there, and then you go out and sign Sam Darnold to a $33.5 million annual deal. You splurge on Cooper Kupp, $45 million, $15 million a year. Not to mention, we want to go on the defensive side where they sign overpriced DeMarcus Lawrence at 32 years old. I don't know what they're doing there as a team there, but as far as fantasy with Cooper, I don't want to go on too far on a rant here. We don't have much time, but
go, baby.
Go on.
but Cooper Kupp in Seattle, his arrow's got to be pointing down at this point. It's his stage in his career. He's chasing the money. He got his ring. He's going home, like you said. I mean, everybody wants to play for their hometown team, right? I mean, Rhett, you would love to play for the Saints for 1 year, right? So he's doing what he wants to do.
Will they?
But as far as Cooper Kupp, You know what? If I can get him at a discount, I'll gladly take him. But I don't view him anymore as like that wide receiver 2 or 3. He's more of a bench player for me if I were to even select him.
And I think that's a good rule of thumb is that I'll take anybody at value, baby. That's where we
Yeah.
are. And I want to touch with you real quick because the Buffalo Bills signed Josh Palmer 3 years, $29 million. I like Josh Palmer as a player. I think his metrics have always shown signs of him being a pretty good NFL wide receiver.
Yeah.
He just hasn't ever really been able to stay healthy. And on top of that, the Buffalo Bills still don't have a lead dog in this passing offense. So this has to be pointing towards them making yet another move in the NFL draft, right?
I will say this. The signing of Palmer, I think, is more of a bigger deal for real life football than fantasy football. Because from a fantasy perspective, like Khalil Shakir, I want on my team absolutely, but after Khalil Shakir, it's like just like last year. After Khalil Shakir, I feel like it's still an everyone eats mentality. So after Khalil Shakir, sure you could throw a dart throw here and there, but after Shakir, you can't really trust anyone on a week-to-week basis. That's just how I'm operating right now.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty solid on that as well. DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Baltimore Ravens 1 year, up to $6 million. This has to be the most classic Baltimore Ravens wide receiver deal we've ever seen. We've seen them do it over the years. Steve Smith, Odell Beckham Jr., just a bunch of different guys. John McGlynn says they traded for run that back. Traded for Palmer in a few leagues last year. He is very underrated. Completely agreed there. So this is the most Baltimore Ravens wide receiver acquisition I think we've seen because they've done this with veteran guys over the years. But that's a nice way of saying it, over the hill. But I mean, he was productive last year for the Chiefs and even made it to the Super Bowl with them. But I mean, he has to be the wide receiver 2 behind Zay Flowers, right, Kyle?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then maybe even behind Mark Andrews in terms of targets as well. He's just up there in age, he's an old bird. You see what I did there?
Good one.
Yeah. Crickets. But as a team for the Baltimore Ravens, you add a vet like that. I see it in terms of football, but fantasy, to me, there's not much appeal for Hopkins.
I agree. And what if he's also like behind Rashad Bateman? And then what if they also continue to run more with Lamar and Derrick Henry? There's a lot of outs here where you could see DeAndre Hopkins not being fantasy relevant, like at all.
Yeah. One more quote unquote major signing, and I'm not going to spend much time on it because I'm not excited about it. And I don't think you guys should be either because we know this is Malik Neighbors offense. Darius Slayton stays with the Giants 3 years, $36 million. To put it lightly, it's an overpay. And we could just all agree. We could just say, meh.
You know what I wrote in my notes for this?
Go ahead.
I wrote my notes for him, literally, Jag. Just a guy.
Just a guy, yeah.
Every time it seems like he's going to leave, he doesn't. Why not just leave already?
Yeah, so I think we're all in lockstep there. It's just one of those things where they like him more for football reasons than we like him for fantasy reasons. A few other insignificant signings of free agency. De'Ami Brown goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. DeMarcus Robinson to the 49ers. Mac Hollins to the Patriots. And touchdown maven Nick Westbrook-Ikhine to the Miami Dolphins. Not much to speak on there in either of those signings, in my opinion. Don't expect much in terms of fantasy, but guys come up and surprise us every season.
All the time.
So, yeah. So that's the wide receiver position. Let's go ahead and let's go into running backs. And let's start. You already mentioned it once, talking about Aaron Rodgers. The Minnesota Vikings have been busy in the backfield in free agency. They re-signed Aaron Jones to a 2-year, $20 million deal. But perhaps the deal that I like more than that was the trade for Jordan Mason and then signing him to a 2-year, $12 million extension. That is very good cost control for a guy that flashed big time last year. So, Aiden, I want to go ahead and start with you. And then I want to go to you, Kyle. I just want each of your opinions and tell me why. Which of these guys is the back to own over the next 2 years in Minnesota? Is it Aaron Jones or is it Jordan Mason?
I think it's Jordan Mason personally, because as you know, as we all know, Aaron Jones he's aging and he's pretty injury prone. And number two, We saw what Jordan Mason did behind that kind of meh offensive line last year in San Francisco with CMC out. And number 3, most importantly, I personally think Jordan Mason is going to have more than just a fantasy handcuff role in this team. Like, I think he could carve out a bigger role, not just behind Aaron Jones, but alongside in tandem with Aaron Jones than people are thinking. I don't know what you guys think. That's just my personal thought.
No, I totally agree. I mean, he shined in San Francisco. He averaged 5.2 yards a carry, right up there actually with Bucky Irvin, who Bucky had about 60 more carries than him. But Jordan Mason finished with 789 yards on the ground. He averaged 9.6 PPR points. I like Jordan Mason with this Minnesota Vikings team. I do think that he would be the back to own for the next 2 years because, Aaron Jones has proved to be a little gimpy from year to year. And if Jordan Mason gets that shot, sky's the limit, man. I'm excited for Jordan Mason.
Yeah. And, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, our long lost co-host.
What is on the screen right now?
We were dying without you, man. We needed you.
Yeah, we were losing.
We'll take a drunk Drew over anybody at this point.
Welcome back, Timu Kelsey. How are you, bud?
Oh my god, dude! I can't handle this Kelsey graphic on the screen.
We're still doing
That's
that?
Incredible.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yep. There's my boy Drew Scott in all of his glory, and he's coming in at the perfect time. Drew, we're talking running backs right now, and I just want to go ahead and let's just kick it straight to you. I know this is a deal that a lot of people have fallen in love with. Najee Harris to the Los Angeles Chargers, 1 year, $5.25 million. They've also released Gus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins is still a free agent at the time of recording. So, Drew, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you right away. Najee Harris, kind of a plotter over the years, yet he's paired with a guy who kind of thrives with this sort of running back. So, is this the best possible landing spot for Najee Harris, and what's the ceiling in 2025, bud?
I mean, I don't think there were too many out there that were better. I do think we still have to pay attention to what they do with the NFL draft, that this running back class is just so deep. And I can't imagine that they go into the season with Najee Harris and Kamani Vidal as their top 2 running backs. So it really just depends on what kind of investment they make on a running back in the NFL draft. But if Najee survives the draft and they don't add a guy until day 3, or a UDFA, something like that, I think that he can be really productive. So I right now he probably sets in as like a mid RB2 for me, but if he survives the NFL draft, he could probably move in closer to like that higher end RB2, something along those range. But that's probably the ceiling to me. Like I don't see a world where he enters RB1 territory for me.
And no, I do agree with that. But at the same time, if you would have told me a year ago that we were talking about Najee Harris having a high RB2 upside, I mean, I've never really particularly been high on Najee Harris. Like, he's not a me. Yeah. So the fact that we're here versus where we were 5 months ago, 6 months ago on Najee Harris just speaks to the fit and how good it possibly can be. Kyle, do you have anything you want to add to that, man?
No, just the fact that, I mentioned it in our chat that I think the Steelers may end up regretting letting him walk. I know that it's a very deep class like Drew talked about, but Najee Harris is a walking 1,000-yard running back who's never missed a game, and now he gets to be paired up with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers who love to run the football. I think I like it a little bit more than Drew. I think I view him as the same range as like a Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, maybe even Ashley Genty when we draft there. I like him a lot with the LA Chargers. I like him a lot with the LA Chargers.
That is a take. Go ahead and clip that one for the future, because if Najee Harris pops up, you heard it first from Kyle Ziegler here on the season premiere of 4th and Frames for the 2025 season. But let's keep on rolling. One of my guys that I kind of low-key fell in love with last offseason, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek at first, and then he kind of snuck up and got himself a 1,000-yard season, Rico Dowdle. And I'm thinking free agency starts, I'm like, there's no way Dallas doesn't bring him back, right? Like, he was too productive for them last year. There's no way that it doesn't happen. And then what happens? One of the most head-scratching free agency moves of the offseason when Rico Dowdle, coming off of a Chuba Hubbard career year, signs a 1-year, $6.25 million contract. So, Aiden, first off, let me just ask you this: Are we RIPing Jonathan Brooks before it even got started?
I hate to say it, but I think it's already over before it got going.
And our man Robert Thomas, first off, we love you and we love that you're always here with us. He says he's going to run for 3 touchdowns and 150 against the Steelers in the playoffs. Don't put it past him. Jonathan Brooks, dead on arrival. Anybody, Drew? How do you? I know we were big on him last offseason. But then he tears the ACL probably 2-3 weeks after he returns, and then he's just hurt again. So is this the Panthers kind of just hedging their bet and trying to make sure they have 2 backs heading into 2025, and that's why this is a 1-year deal, or what?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. I mean, with the advances in medicine, I don't think it's DOA for Jonathan Brooks' career, but this year definitely is. I think he'll be on the shelf. But I think that Brooks could be a factor in the backfield next year. But yeah, I think that's exactly what this is. I think the Rico Dowdle is depth behind Chuba Hubbard. I would expect Chuba to have a somewhat similar role to what he had last year, maybe a little bit less work, at least compared to what he was getting before Brooks got healthy. I don't think he's going to handle, damn near 100% of the touches like he was before Brooks got healthy, but I do think Dowdle will play a role. I think that's a pretty fair assessment, Red. I think he's a depth signing for this year, and then I think that Brooks will step back into that role in 2026, assuming everything goes good with his recovery and everything like that.
Yeah, and I think we're all pretty much in lockstep on that. I think Jonathan Brooks, they're hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, and that's fine. That's exactly what you should do.
4-1 out indeed, Robert.
Yeah, in the NFL. Yeah. But speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, we talked about how they should have signed Rico Dowdle, in my opinion. So they pivoted once they didn't, and they went with Javonte Williams on 1 year, $3 million, and then Miles Sanders also signing with the Dallas Cowboys. Kyle, I want to jump to you, and I think sensibly, I feel like I know you're going to go with this, but I'll ask you anyway. Does this murderer's row of a running back room in 2025 take the Cowboys out of consideration for a day 1 or day 2 running back?
No, not at all. I think the signing tells you everything here, right? Both backs, short, cheap deals. Sanders will be 28 by the season start. Javonte's still young, but I do think the Cowboys take advantage of this excellent running back class. But keep in mind, it is Jerry Jones.
Oh,
it is Jerry.
You don't know what he can do. But yes, they will probably have to take a stab at a running back early on in this draft.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Aiden, anything else you want to add to that, man?
Okay, this might sound harsh, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Javonte and Miles Sanders and likely a rookie. But as it stands right now between those two, this is going to be a gross, ugly split next year for fantasy. Everyone should just be avoiding. I think it's going to be a gross, ugly split, and no one's going to be happy there whatsoever. I just don't see this. This is just a very muddy backfield that I would just avoid, no matter how much perceived value there could be on either one.
And while we're at it, if they don't take a running back, CeeDee Lamb's to the moon, right, Drew?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb is in for a huge year. Yeah, if anything, this offseason has told us that the Cowboys plan on throwing the ball a shit ton. And so, yeah, Dak Prescott, give me plenty of him. Give me CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's go through a couple other minor signings in the running back position. Raheem Mostert goes to the Raiders, 1 year, $2.1 million. Not sure how much I'm personally expecting from that. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Not relevant to fantasy.
Right.
If any of the mock drafters are accurate, I mean, every mock drafter on the planet has Ashton Jennings basically and Sharpie to the Raiders at 6. So if those guys are accurate, it's not going to matter. If for some reason the Raiders decide to completely just ignore the position during the draft, which I don't think they can afford to do given their depth chart, but if for some ungodly reason that happens,
I still wouldn't want.
We might have to take a little bit longer look at Mostert. Like somebody has to get the touches, man. Like,
no, I agree.
Like
what's wrong with
I just don't see how they.
What's wrong with that?
I don't mind Sincere McCormick either, honestly. I truly, if the the NFL draft is gonna this position, the running back position in general, is really hard to gauge right now because this is I guess it depends on what you think about the class. I think that the running back class this year is worth all the hype. Like I think it has the star talent at the top. I think it has the depth at the end. Like it's going to mess up a ton of running back rooms. And so,
yes,
the best advice that I think I could give is just don't make any knee-jerk reactions at the running back position based off what's going on right now. Because
don't get married.
Don't go out and buy Raheem Mostert just because the Raiders signed him right now. Because here in a month, it's probably not going to matter, and that's probably going to fit for a lot of the backfields. I think this class is gonna mess up a lot of stuff. It's gonna shake a lot of it up. And more often than not, I'm gonna lean on the rookie whenever it comes to this class compared to some of the veterans that are signing. So just don't overreact to the free agency at the running back position.
Some teams could take 2 RBs since it's so deep.
Yeah, they really could. I absolutely could see that.
Couple other minor free agent signings we want to go through. Elijah Mitchell and Kareem Hunt both go to the Chiefs. Elijah Mitchell, $3.5 million. Kareem Hunt, $1.5 million. And a few other minor signings. Ty Johnson goes back to the Bills. Samaje Perine back to the Bengals. A.J. Dillon signs in Philadelphia. Kenny Gainwell to the Steelers. Travis Homer stays with the Bears. Khalil Herbert to the Indianapolis Colts. But I want to park on Kenny Gainwell for a little bit because, in my opinion, once again, barring any NFL draft hijinks, which are possible at the running back position, am I crazy for thinking this is a sneaky fantasy value for the Steelers?
To me,
okay, I'm crazy. It's fine.
No. I was just everyone stays silent. To me, Gainwell and Warren. I don't really, from a real life perspective, I don't know why they signed Kenneth Gainwell because to me, Kenneth Gainwell and Warren are both kind of smaller-ish backs, and they play the same receiving style position. So I don't know if I want either of them right now, just because I am expecting a significant investment, if not first round and day 2 from a draft perspective. So I think neither of them. I think Warren will be kind of overpriced, and then Gainwell will be kind of whatever.
Yeah, my only pushback on that is exactly that. In the draft, the Steelers actually have 2 picks on day 2, 2 in round 3. I think they're going to use at least one of them in round 3 on a running back.
That's fine, but once again,
I'm not saying you're crazy.
Married. I'm not getting married. I'm just throwing things out there.
That's
I'm
putting
the ring on.
Buy.
It's like let's see where it goes. See where it goes. It's fine. So those are the running back guys. Let's go ahead and let's jump into the quarterbacks and let's jump back to Vegas because they traded for Geno Smith in the beginning of this Seattle teardown. And Geno has always kind of been a guy that I sort of enjoyed over the past couple of years, I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league. I certainly don't think he's the worst quarterback in the league. He definitely provides an upgrade for the Las Vegas Raiders to the position here in 2025. So I'm going to go to UConn, and I'm just going to ask you this. In terms of teams who, quote unquote, upgraded the position, you have Geno Smith going to the Raiders, Matthew Stafford being back, Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, Justin Fields going to the Jets. Is this more or less than an upgrade than I think it is? Because I think it's a pretty significant upgrade and should work out well for them, considering Geno's in a contract year this year.
From a football standpoint, you're right. It was a good move because the Raiders had to do something. And they were getting down to the nitty-gritty on what quarterback they could get. But he's still a QB2 to me. He's a super flex option. The weapons around Geno don't make me excited at all. At all.
Yeah, that's fair. Drew, let's go to you, man. Because your boy, your guy, Matt Stafford, reworks the deal. He's back with the Rams. He's got Puka. He's got Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
he's still got Kyrie Williams in that backfield. We talked about it earlier. We think the Rams may be primed up to go for another Super Bowl run. Fantasy-wise, what is the Matt Stafford ceiling for you this year?
I mean, it's gonna sound crazy. It would probably be more crazy if it didn't just happen a few years ago. But I mean, I think he's right there in that like low end QB1 territory. He just needs the touchdowns to work out for him. You know, his first year with the Rams, he was the QB5, I believe, in points per game, and that was on the back of over 40 touchdowns. You know, I mean, he's not going to run the ball. Right. So he needs the high touchdown numbers, but he has the weapons to make it happen. You know, so it's really just the good news is you don't have to draft him in that territory. You know, you're going to be able to get him super late. He's barely even a QB2 in drafts, so you don't have to spend a lot of draft capital on him. But if Kyrie Williams gets a little bit less rushing touchdowns, some of the red zone work goes to Stafford in his arm, and that's one thing that Devontae Adams excels in is working in the red zone. You know, that I think that will help in that area. So, I mean, I think his ceiling is a backing QB1, more realistic, probably somewhere in the QB2 territory. But I mean, you know, he was the QB5 in points per game his first year in the Rams, and I think his weapons now are better than they were that year. So he just needs the touchdowns to bounce his way.
And you weren't here whenever we talked Devontae Adams earlier, so I just want to go ahead and I just want to get your feedback on this. Kyle brought it up with Devontae Adams currently going off as the wide receiver 18 on Fantasy Pros. You have to be in love with that number, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, Puka's still a high-end wide receiver 1 for me. He probably dropped from like wide receiver 2, 3 to wide receiver 4, 5, somewhere in that range, but he's still a top-end wide receiver 1 for me. And I think Adams is going to be a really solid high-end number 2. And if that's going to come to fruition, then the reality is Stafford's ADP makes no sense. I mean, if he's gonna produce enough to have a wide receiver 1 and a high end wide receiver 2, he probably shouldn't be, you know, like the 20th plus quarterback off the board. But yeah, I at least for this year, I love it. You know, I don't know how much more Adams has got in the tank, but he certainly didn't look like he had lost a step to me last year. And in my opinion, I think he's getting a quarterback upgrade this year. So. He brought it back. I took it off and it came back. I can't get rid of this Timu Kelsey shit.
It's bad. Can't go.
That is hilarious.
Wow.
You know what we can't get rid of coming off of his breakout season last year, Aiden? Apparently we can't get rid of the idea of Sam Darnold being a starting quarterback in the NFL because the Seattle Seahawks invested 3 years and $100 million in him.
Yeah.
Dude, we talked a little bit earlier about how this offense kind of just seems to be blown up for no particularly good reason. Sam Darnold coming off of a career year, of course, playing with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, so that helps. But without Justin Jefferson and without Jordan Addison, I tend to be very apprehensive about the idea of Sam Darnold as a starting quarterback. You have to feel the same way, right, Aiden?
I do as well. This might sound harsh, but if you look at Kevin O'Connell's system, he literally turns any quarterback he touches into fantasy like production. Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins will probably do JJ McCarthy next. It doesn't matter. So I'm someone who tends to believe that outside of the KOC system, if you will, I think Sam Darnold will turn back into a pumpkin. It's unfortunate to say out loud, but that's just my opinion. Who does he really have other than JSN? Which, side note, JSN should be a must-have player for everyone out there, but for Sam Darnold himself, whatever.
Kyle?
Yeah, he's no as good as he is. He's no Justin Jefferson, that's for sure. I'm not going to say that this is going to happen, but I would not be surprised if we see New York Jets Sam Darnold. I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, that's what I meant by like turning back to a pumpkin outside of the elite AOC system. Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. I just, like I said earlier, what the hell are the Seahawks doing? You know, I thought they were tanking, and then they threw him the bag. It doesn't make sense to me. But hey, Drew's happy.
I am. We got Geno Smith out of the division. I'm here for it. You know, so I mean, just talking about Stafford. You know, like I would rather have Stafford over Darnold next year, 100%.
It's not even close for me.
Yeah.
And Kyle, did you plan that segue, by the way? Because you mentioned the New York Jets. And then next thing on the show sheet, Justin Fields signed to the New York Jets, 2 years, $40 million. Clearly a bridge quarterback sort of situation, but Our boy Derek Brown over at Fantasy Pros, he dropped this the other day, and that in the 2 years, and let's call it 2.5 years, including last year at Pittsburgh, where Justin Fields was a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Anytime he's been a starting quarterback, he's finished as a QB1 in those games that he started. So are we really dealing with a sneaky QB1 value here in Justin Fields?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a dual threat quarterback like Fields, it could be a sneaky pick. I mean, look at Tim Tebow back in the day. He was not a very good quarterback as a terms of for the team, but he was a damn good fantasy quarterback. I don't like it as a Jets fan, but for fantasy, oh man, I do like some Justin Fields on the Jets. Yeah.
And then last but not least, we saved the best for last for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Dimes,
Oh,
our Lord and Savior, the GOAT, Fantasy and Frames favorite. 1 year, $14 million. Drew showing his appreciation for the GOAT. Drew, what are they thinking? Do they have no faith in Anthony Richardson? Is this a fail-safe? Is this a break glass signing? Where are you on Daniel Jones?
I would have had no problem with them signing Daniel Jones as a backup if they didn't give him like spot starter money. And I just, for the life of me, since they drafted Anthony Richardson, I can't understand what the hell the Colts are doing. I don't get me wrong. I know he's missed games because of injury, but last year he wasn't injured the first time they decided to bench him for Joe Flacco just because he said he needed to take a play off. And like, I'm sorry, your roster is not good enough to where insert Joe Flacco and now we're Super Bowl contenders. And if you're not a Super Bowl contender with the quarterback move you make, if you're willing to move off the guy that you drafted at number 4 overall, 4. Like they didn't. This wasn't like a day 3 guy that they just took a shot on. They took him 4 overall, and they're willing to bench him for Joe Flacco in the middle of his like he hasn't even played 2 full seasons essentially in terms of the games he's actually started. I don't get it. I think they completely mishandled it. They've given Anthony Richardson zero reason to believe that they have confidence in him. And I don't get it. I really don't. And I know Anthony Richardson's not perfect, and I was an Anthony Richardson guy, and so I'm holding on to some. There's a little bit of take lot going on. I'm not naive to that, but I just don't think that they have given him a fair shot, and I think that they are a little naive to where they are as a team. You got to let the kid play. I mean, like it was clear as day. If I am as amateur as they come whenever it comes to player evaluation, and I can tell that Anthony Richardson is a project and he's going to need time, then surely to God, the decision makers that decided he's worth taking the 4th overall pick could also understand, hey, this guy's going to need time. We need to give him time to develop. And instead they were like, well, he didn't give us immediate results. So you're getting benched for Joe Flacco, and then we're going to sign Daniel Jones to a spot starter contract. And Richardson is going to be walking on eggshells now because he knows the first time he fucks up and has a bad game, insert Daniel Jones here to be just as mediocre, but with less explosive plays attached to him. It just, I don't know. I really thought that Chris Ballard was a sharp GM, and I thought that the Colts front office outside of Jim Irsay and thing like that, like I thought that they kind of had it together. But these last couple of years now, I'm just kind of questioning everything about how they've handled Anthony Richardson, and it makes no sense to me at all. So. I could keep going, but I'll just stop there.
Listen, good enough, man. I love your passion about Anthony Richardson. I love having you back. It's just good to see you back, man. I'm glad we're doing this again.
Back, man. I'm so happy.
So good to be back. So that's the quarterback position. Let's cap this night off and let's talk tight ends. Not a whole bunch went on in free agency in terms of tight ends, but there was one that is really interesting to me. And that's Evan Ingram going to the Denver Broncos, 2 years, $23 million. Kyle, we don't know what's going to happen in the NFL draft. We discussed that earlier. But heading into the NFL draft, we've seen Evan Ingram have some really, really good seasons, especially 2 years ago with Jacksonville. In your opinion, is he the default wide receiver 1 for the Broncos heading into the NFL draft?
Well, you guys know my love for Cortland Sutton, right? Yeah, I know Drew knows. So I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I got a lot of love for Cortland Sutton. As good as Evan Ingram was 2 years ago, he still has never produced 1,000 yards at the position. His best year was 963, which is the year you're probably talking about. He had 114 catches, which is off the radar for him. He averages like half of that. So I'm going to say Cortland Sutton's the guy there still. I like me some Cortland Sutton.
I agree. I'm a big Sutton fan.
Drew,
we got
because you weren't high on Sutton. You weren't high on Sutton the years that I was, but
no. You that the Cortland Sutton take was definitely one that I got wrong that you nailed. I was lower on Cortland Sutton the past couple of years, and I missed out on some good draft value because of that. And I still think just because of the rapport that him and Bo Nix already have and the familiarity with the offense, things like that, I think you have to give the nod to Sutton to start the year at least. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities where, 2/3 of the way through the year, we're looking at Evan Ingram being in like a 1A, 1B in the offense, and that's not even to Benjamin Albright, who's a great insider especially for the Broncos, but just for the NFL in general. He has been very adamant that they're not really looking at adding pass catchers. And I mean, so like people tried to attach them to Devontae Adams and to Cooper Kupp and to basically every receiver to hit the market. And Albright was loudly on Twitter like, this is not happening. They're not involved. It's not happening. I mean, he's been proved right. So it seems like that they're pretty happy with their pass catchers. It seems like they're going to add somebody to the running back room through the draft. But so I think it has to be Cortland Sutton that gets the nod to start the year. And then maybe as the year progresses, Ingram closes the gap a little bit. But I think Sutton's the wide receiver one. It's time for me to make up for my sins of the past and back Sutton. Yeah.
But to Rhett's point though, if it were to happen and Evan Ingram is the go-to number one, it would be because Sean Payton sees that Joker role like he sees in Taysom Hill with Evan Ingram. Can he play that role? If he can play that role, maybe not to the point of Taysom Hill because he can throw the football, but if he can play that role, maybe there is something to it.
Can I just go off on a quick aside here?
Yeah.
Please.
I'm so sick of hearing about the fabled Sean Payton Joker role. Does any of us really know what the hell that means?
Adam Troutman love. But
like, what is the Joker role in the Sean Payton offense? Is it just
wears
like
many hats? He does everything.
Flex
It's a guy who just like kind of athletic and does a couple different things. Like Greg Dulcich was supposed to be the Joker role.
Yeah, well,
that didn't work out. I mean,
I liked him.
So, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I don't. I know that one Taysom Hill in the league is good enough for me. We don't need any more Taysom Hills. That's.
And I'm not saying
one Taysom Hill is too many Taysom Hills. So
is that going to throw the football too?
I'm not saying he can because I don't know.
I swear to God, if week one, if Evan Ingram gets an end around and he pulls back the pass, I'm going to lose my shit.
Well, that's the end of that.
Now putting that as a prop bet for week one. Let's do it. A couple other tight end signings that we're going to talk about. Zach Ertz back to the Commanders, 1 year, $6.25 million, up to $9 million with incentives. I'm kind of confused by that because I thought they drafted a guy a year ago and Ben Sinnott. That could be a guy, but apparently this is either a thank you for what he did last year where he was pretty solid, or they just don't believe in Ben Sinnott. Not sure what's going on there. Mike Gesicki goes back to the Bengals, a 3-year extension, $25 million for a guy who I think we're going to agree probably doesn't justify $25 million.
No,
but I could be wrong. Anybody disagree with that statement?
No, I agree. I've never been a fan, but whatever.
And to top it off, if you thought 3 years for $25 million from Mike Gesicki was bad, boy, have you not met my New Orleans Saints.
Well,
where do they even have the money?
They don't have money. They're dead money for year.
Jawan Johnson, 3 years, $30 million. This was the highest paid tight end this offseason in free agency. Drew Scott, what the hell are we doing here?
Don't ask me, man. I have no idea what you guys are doing. I don't know. You guys are paying Derek Carr like $90 million to suck ass. I I don't know, man. I don't know what the Saints are doing. You guys just need to everybody that's getting paid big money, they all need to be cut. And you guys need to eat the dead cap and just suck for a couple years. The Saints need a reset so bad. They're in cap hell with absolutely nothing to show for it. Like, the roster's in shambles and they have no cap space. Like, I don't know, man. I truly don't know. I don't get it.
You could have just drafted Tyler Warren and reset the position and been done with it.
Well,
yeah.
Lucky for you, Aiden, you haven't been dealing with this team like I have for the past 5 years. And rebuilds, we don't need no stinking rebuilds, baby. Mickey Loomis.
Mediocrity. So.
Yeah. Mickey Loomis just loves to run it back with the same dudes every year. And we're all sick of it. But you know what? We might as well just embrace it and embrace the chaos. Because you know what? We have a 36-year-old coach who maybe could be, perhaps, we're not sure if he's a good offensive coach, but hey,
maybe
he took the job, so we have to be excited about him because no one else would.
No one wanted
it. Before we get out of here, guys, let's talk about Dynasty decks. And as you get closer to prepping those fantasy football championship winning teams this offseason, what better way to encapsulate your victory? What better way to put it in the stars? What better way to scream from the heavens that you're the man in your league than by getting your own Dynasty Decks championship plaque? Dynasty Decks, or go to DynastyDecks.com. Our boys provide fully customizable championship plaques for any fantasy football league, whether it's offense, whether it's an IDP league, whether it's a salary cap league. Man, whatever your fancy is, if you're a best ball person, Dynasty Decks has a plaque for you. And all you got to do is go to the DynastyDecks.com and use the promo code FRAMES and receive $5 off the purchase price, which is extremely affordable compared to other market prices on other websites. So our listeners, promo code FRAMES, head over to the DynastyDecks.com today to get that discount for you. So guys, we just spent the last hour talking free agency. We talked about these highs, these lows, these in-betweens. We hated on Daniel Jones. We laughed and we cried. We had a good time. Coming up on Wednesday nights, we always have these shows on Wednesday night, whether it's Shoot the Gap, Dynasty 365, Fourth and Frames. 1 Foot Down is going to be coming back this season. We have our hockey show. We have all kind of things going on over on the Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. All you got to do is subscribe or head over to fantasyandframes.com. And we will be back next Wednesday to discuss the coaching changes this offseason and their implications on redraft. But before we do that, I want to go around the frames and I want to let you guys talk about what it is you're doing right now. Plug your work, whether it's inside fantasy football, outside of fantasy football. What has your heart right now? Let's start with you, Drew.
I honestly, other than hanging out with you guys, I haven't been doing a whole lot. I've kind of just been enjoying the off season. Yeah, certainly hadn't been working as hard as my man Aiden here below me, but
my God.
I do plan on putting out some rookie profiles once the NFL draft happens and we get a better idea. I don't like to have too hard of a stance on rookies until we get the draft capital. Less important, but still important landing spot too. So once we get the full picture, I'm going to put out some rookie profiles on the website. But other than that, just I'll be here every Wednesday night. I was on Dynasty 365 while we were on a break. Talked some rookie prospects already on there. So if you didn't watch those live, you should go back and check those out and give us your thoughts on that. But yeah, other than that, just talking ball with you guys, man. I mean, everything I do, you can find it over on Twitter at Drew3MR. But outside of that, man, I'm just happy that we're back. I'm happy that we got the show back. We should have Nate back next week. And I'm happy to be back in the groove talking ball with you guys on Fourth and Frames, man.
Yeah, that's good to have you. It's good to be hanging out again. Aiden?
Yeah.
Bud? First off, how many articles have you dropped in this first week and a half?
It's probably at like close or at double digits by now, cranking out these instant reaction articles.
I was thinking 15.
Oh, okay, 15.
I was thinking
sounds great.
I'm pretty
Sounds about
positive he's put out. I think that this is year 3 for me with Fantasy and Frames. I'm pretty sure he's put more articles out in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 3 years. So if you're not
That's
already following him,
Good
you should go.
barometer then. Yeah. Okay.
You're the Jamar Chase, man, of writing articles. You are the Jamar Chase. Jorge's gonna have to pay you $161.
We'll talk about that.
But no, man, what else you got going on right now, Aiden?
So I'm trying to get on obviously all these different podcasts. It's been great. I'm releasing all these history action articles as fantasy news flows and comes through. And then I wasn't going to tease this, but I might as well tease this. At the end of next week, I'm going to be releasing my first bigger, longer form article on the site analyzing 10 must-have players for 2025 fantasy football post free agency. So you all have that to look forward to.
The man ain't playing, ladies and gentlemen. When we say he's the rookie of the year, he is coming in hard, strong, and he is coming in hot. Kyle, tell us what you got working, man.
Man, I'm just busy with the 3-year-old and almost 5-year-old. They got me running in shambles over here. They're tiring me out. But I am so excited to be on here. I'm gonna make some sacrifices with my work schedule to try to get on here at least once a month with you guys, if you so take me on. But I can definitely free up the schedule. I had a lot of fun here on 4th and Frames with you guys, and I'm just glad to be here, man. I'm just so glad to be talking ball with you.
Drew, did you hear that? The man's willing to get fired for us, and that's all you can really ask for out of a guest.
I've been harassing this guy for a couple years now, trying to get him on the show, man. So I was so sad I had to be late whenever it finally happened. But
I'm here now, and I have freed up with my personal work life. I've made some sacrifices to make that happen, Drew. I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
I'm very glad to hear you.
I've sacrificed my paycheck for you guys. We love it. My family's financial future, less important than 4th and Frames. And that's the type of people we need around here, ladies and gentlemen. That sort of level of dedication. And guys, I can be found on Twitter at @RManuelSports. And really, this is my first week back, so we're just kind of starting to get cooking, kind of starting to get back in the saddle. Excited to be back. And like we said, we will be back next week going over coaching changes in the NFL and giving you our redraft reactions. For our boy Nate Markham, who can be found at Nate Markham on Twitter. For Drew at Drew3MR. For Aiden Weingartner at AWeingartner13. And Kyle Ziegler at KZ1180. I am Red Manuel. We are 4th and Frames. And as we always tell you, toodles, baby.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.